Hello and welcome to the Healthy Minds Speaker Series. If you can believe it, this is the 10th week that we've had these sessions. And when we think back, it was just a concept that we want to try and see how people would actually respond and if there was an interest. And thanks to all of you, it has been a great success. So we just thank you so much for being a part of this. And we're looking forward to the session that we're going to have today. So to kind of give you a sense in terms of kind of how we run the sessions, and again, it's the same format as last time. We'll have a speaker for 15 minutes, and this time it's going to be all Dr. Bill Howatt. So Dr. Howatt, great to see you again.
Thanks for having me, Peter.
And we'll introduce his topic in a moment. And again, if you have any questions, please click on the icon at the top. When we started these sessions 10 weeks ago, our intention was to have a dialogue with an expert on how we can have a healthy mind and support ourselves during COVID. And we've covered a number of different topics. We've covered social isolation, we've covered anxiety, worry, sleep, how to parent your children during COVID. And what we're planning on doing now, the original plan was that after 10 weeks, we would actually be finished. And we've decided, based upon really positive feedback, that we're going to continue the series, but we're going to do it slightly different throughout the summer. So our plan is that over the summer, we're going to be having a session, probably, one every 2 to 3 weeks, we're going to have a session. We'll give you a lot of advance notice for when we're having them. And we're going to broaden the speakers that we bring in. So our speakers have been very much, again, about kind of coping during these challenging times. But we're going to start to pivot more and look more at wellness more broadly. So we're going to cover topics like happiness. We're going to talk about approximately or probably around how to have a healthy body, maybe nutrition. And so we're really figuring out in terms of what these different topics will be. But you can think of it being more prevention and more on the wellness front, which is really the precursor for having the healthy minds that we're talking about today. So with that, I want to jump into the topic that we have. And if you'll recall, when Dr. Howatt joined us the first time, he was talking about what is your mental fitness like. And today is a bit of a capstone because it's really an opportunity for us to be looking at all of the different things that we've been covering over the last several weeks and how to bring it into a comprehensive plan. The intention here is that it becomes a really personal plan and something that you can use to help guide you, throughout the coming weeks and months, and hopefully even becomes a habit that goes well beyond that. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Howatt, and again, over to you, and looking forward to this discussion.
Thanks, Peter. Can you turn the slide for me, Sean? So what we're going to do is I'm going to cover some slides. I'm going to go through 3 or 4 slides that are going to be some review for you. And then I'm really going to slow down the last couple of slides to get you focused on how to develop a mental fitness plan to give you. So without any question, there's all kinds of stressors that have been hitting people. And depending on where you're at and what's going on, you will have your experience. If you go to the next slide. So just a reminder, when we're talking about mental health, mental illness, when you think about mental illness, lots of people, when I see patients, is on a continuum. Mental illness is impacting your degree of functioning. On the other axis, your mental health. Mental health is your outlook. What the purpose of this activity we're focusing on is focusing on your mental health. 1 in 5 people might have a mental illness at any point in time in the country, but 5 out of 5 have mental health. This is just like your physical health. Everybody has physical health. Everyone has mental health. Your mental health will follow from flourishing to languishing. That will impact your view of the world. Next slide. Now, when you think about mental health, what happens is lots of folks don't have a frame of reference. So just to kind of remind you, you think about it, our actions, what you choose to do, 40% of all our mental health is impacted by our actions. 50% of our mental health is made by our genetics. And 10% is from the environment. When we talk about the environment, I'll talk more about the social determinants of health. Our environment is really important. Our support systems, our employment, and our jobs, and our benefits, and things like what Peter and the team are providing, external resources. But ultimately, every one of us own our own mental health. It's a two-way accountability. There are no shortcuts for us. And if you look on the right, you'll see from flourishing to reacting to languishing, and how we actually filter. So we're going to spend some time talking about what can we do to help us flourish more. That's within our control. Next slide. Now, if you remember, my colleague Dana talked about the caveman brain. Just want to make a quick reminder to anchor you. Stress. Whenever you have a difference between what you want and what you have, doesn't matter what it is. When you have that and you can't solve your problem here, and the flip, it's almost like a switch flips. When that happens, we get caught in that emotional brain. The big thing I want you to remember, the coaching point, is just because you don't know the answer doesn't mean there's not an answer when we get stuck here. Try to remember the car metaphor. You get in a car, you can't start the car. You reasonably ought to know something's wrong with the car. It doesn't mean you throw the car away. Human beings, when we get caught in this emotional brain, we sometimes confuse feelings with facts. Feelings are not facts. So what we want to do, the trick around building our mental fitness, is that we can help up here have the energy so that we can feel more calm and control about promoting the way we live our lives. Next slide. Now, the metaphor we use is a battery. Now, what happens is there's really things that can charge your battery and drain your battery. So there's things that you can do that are proactive that can charge your battery, and there's things that you can do that drain your battery. So by doing mental fitness, you can charge your battery. Things we do sometimes our lifestyle choices can be actually draining our battery. The employer can do things that can charge your battery and drain. A mental fitness program is going to be focused mostly, when we talk about it, I'll show you mine in a second, is what you can control. However, we need to make sure you're aware the environment is important. So we're going to be talking about what can we do to charge your battery in a second. Next slide. And remember the two-way accountability. This is just a visual of the battery. There's things that can happen on your employer side. That's why Peter and the team are doing things, trying to bring things to help charge your battery. That's the intention. They can bring you information. However, on your side, if you don't apply, use, and practice, there's a difference between education and learning. Education is information. Learning is where you practice it, apply it, and move it. There are no shortcuts. But think about if you were trying to run a 10K and you never ran a 10K before, it builds up, takes stamina. You might feel like it's impossible to do. But if you do it day by day and progress to it, you get stronger and more confident. I just bought a bike, and really quickly, I didn't think I could do 10K. I thought I was going to have a minor heart attack recently, and I got through the damn thing. Now, after pushing myself through 7 or 8 times, I can report to tell you I cut my time in half. I can't believe it. And so it's amazing if we focus on something, but your brain is the same here. Little progression, little work can make a big difference. Next slide. So this is about mental fitness versus cognitive fatigue. COVID-19, financial stress, social, redetermining who we want to be in regards to our morals and our values around equity, inclusion. All this is starting to create some challenge for people, more drain, the uncertainty. So we're talking about what can we do to charge the battery. So we want to focus mental fitness. Next slide. So how to overcome your stress. I'm going to focus on giving you some ideas of things that you can do to build resiliency. Resiliency is the things that you can do with intention to charge your battery. Coping skills are some things that we can learn, or techniques that can take practice. And what I want you to be aware of, mental fitness is very similar to physical fitness. It's what you do with intention over a period of time. Now we're going to go through what that could look like. Next slide. So this is my personal mental fitness plan. Here's what I want you to anchor your eyes on. Forget about all the details. Start with 4 elements first. First, physical health. Exercise, diet, rest, relaxation. Those things, your physical pillar, can be a big charger. Social connections. We know that relationships have a big, big charge in it by our quality of our relationships. That bottom level, that's environment. Now, if you think about it, psychological safety, if you really don't feel psychologically safe at home or work, that'll be distracting. So we want to have psychological safety, we need to have a food, we need to have shelter, job security, and those things. When we have those social determinants of health, that's our foundation. That's critical. It's pretty hard to go meditate if you're worried about having an empty stomach or fearful for your children eating. So what we want to do is get those basics, be aware of what we have. And then on the far left is that mental fitness part, what you do with intention. And what I'm going to do is give you a kind of an insight, an idea of how to create one in a second, is because when you look at something like this, as simple as it is, if you look at my mental fitness, like I use gratitude. I really believe in the 98-2 theory. 98% of my life is usually pretty good, but if I allow the 2%, I focus on that all the time, I can actually bias. We have a negative bias. So I really want to focus on what's good in my life and remind myself. When I do that, I start to filter the world more positively. My brain is active. I'm ADHD. My brain's going all the time. I do journaling before I go to bed to help to download everything. Not for a long time, 5 minutes. I write everything out. Meditate. I do a lot of meditation, but I do what's called mindful hydration. I use water and mindfulness for my meditation. I've been doing it for a long time. I created the model. I piloted it, did a study at Dalhousie, and it works and it's simple. And if you're interested, I'll make sure you get an article on mindful hydration. Simple, easy to learn, 90 seconds, and you can help you a great deal. Then the other of these are techniques. Now, we go to the next slide. This is where I really want to, yeah.
Bill, we can't be off that slide without knowing what is spyware.
Oh.
I see it in the middle there. Review your spyware module.
Yeah, so spyware is actually, we have unconsciously programming. So if you think about it, when you use it, I'm from Prince Edward Island, so my father was a bartender. Really quickly explain what it is. If you look at something, and for example, you were in a bar or wherever you were, you saw another human being, and then you were interested, you were single and they were single, why does the person not get up and go ask the other person out? It's kind of 2 + 2 and their head says 4. That person would never go. Sometimes our spyware is we create programming that's limited beliefs. So we sometimes will sit in our chair and say, yeah, they wouldn't want me. So we'll fail in our heads rather than getting up and making it official and walk over to the person and say, and they blow you off. And then you can say, hey, at least I called it over there that you're going to blow me off. But I mean, at the end of the day, for me, where my brain sometimes, when I get some negative thinking, and I start capturing myself in limited beliefs. Whenever I say I can't do something, that's usually a faulty belief system, and then I stop. And so and especially for me, I've learned because of my anxiety, I have to catch myself early in my negative thoughts and then start challenging them. And it's a technique that I learned how to do, and it's based on some cognitive behavioral work. So thanks, Peter. Next slide. So here's what I really like you to spend, and this is where I want to spend most of my time, and then get you into a plan. So if you're going to actually start to do this, you don't need to be overwhelming. First thing is with intention. And believe it or not, your mental fitness plan can start with simply you doing something for your physical health. Without any questions, Dr. Kuchar, who's a senator, who's a famous psychiatrist, says the number one thing that you could do for your mental health is physical health. By getting yourself active, one of the most important things that we can do for our health. So if we do physical health, if you looked at this scale, which says evaluate on a scale, sleep, we had the good doctor do some stuff in sleep, exercise, nutrition, hydration, lifestyle choices. If we're drinking a little bit too much, is it a little bit too much cannabis after work? What are we doing? Drinking too much caffeine? Is there some things that may not be in our best interest? If we think we're having high quality in all those areas, then probably our physical health is going well. But if there's one area that's low, like sleep and movement, nutrition, hydration, drink a little more water, a little less caffeine. If I just pick one thing and focus on it, and the trick about this, I'll talk about how to make it go in a second, is just pick one thing under physical health. When you look at mental fitness, without having a whole lot of frame of reference, you don't need a whole lot of micro skills in your bank. What you just have to know is the following. We all know how we deal with stress. So when you deal with stress, do you feel it in your body, or do you find your mind's racing? If you feel it in your body, this is more your old brain. If you're anxious and you're jumpy in your nervous system, what you want to do is, it's hard to get someone that's jumpy to meditate. What you want to do is start to train your unconscious brain. And what will happen is not that it's difficult, it's just when you want to get them calm. You'll notice when people teach meditation, they'll often say do deep breathing first. That's to calm your amygdala. So one good area is to start, if your body's anxious, start with your unconscious brain, your amygdala, your old brain, and you can work on techniques like deep breathing or guided imagery and progressive relaxation. All of these are super, super simple. All of these, I've written articles in the Globe and Mail on, which I could happy to have Peter and the team put up, that are really simple, easy steps that you can read, and you can learn this stuff in 30 seconds. The trick is to practice it, and I'll talk about that in a minute. Then if it's more your racing mind, and your mind's moving all the time, that's where meditation and mindfulness and journaling are very good. The part what you're trying to do with mental fitness is you're trying to give yourself capacity, trying to give yourself some space and allowing yourself, believe it or not, to allow your mind to rest. Our minds are always working. Our unconscious brain doesn't turn off. So mental fitness is about allowing our brain to work. There's literally hundreds of different techniques. And I'll talk in the next slide about where you can start it. There's courses you can take, training. What the most important when Peter and team offer this is the land of potential and possibilities, is to get you thinking about nudging that you can make a difference with a little bit of awareness that there's opportunities to do things different. I've been doing this for 30 years, and I'm releasing a study Monday with the Mental Health Commission of Canada right after the Prime Minister speaking. We're doing a press release on this. And we're going to be showing that some of the most important coping skills, and we're going to show people who don't learn coping skills, they often can go to what are called reactive coping skills, less effective, like alcohol, drugs. These are pro-social coping skills that are very trainable. We can teach them. The next one under social connections, that's a big barrier. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm really, really quite concerned that many people are getting confused about what this is. The absence of social connections is really what this is about, and the quality of social connections. You could be in a marriage or a relationship and feel lonely. So that loneliness is a feeling. Barriers is isolation, things that prevent us, whether it's we feel we don't have enough money to go out and socialize or not enough time or responsibility. The big thing I will ask you to think about, one of the big drivers right now in a pandemic is having authentic connections and having at least one really good connection in the workplace. It's important. And at least one really good connection on the outside. And I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but you would be amazed how good that is for self-advocating in the workplace. It helps with stigma. If you need help or support, getting one good relationship and investing in a relationship is really, really helpful. And spending time with their loved ones is really helpful. If you go to the next slide. I'm going to do a couple of minutes here, and then we'll take questions. So after you figure out what you're going to focus on, you're thinking about it again. Your mental fitness plan has physical health, mental fitness, things you're doing for your mind, relationships, and being aware what you have, those environmental supports. By being aware of this, then what happens is that now you need to start to put it in action. If you're doing what we often forget about, good ideas are good ideas. But to put things in action is asking you about creating behavioral change sometimes. And that will require new habits. And a trigger is knowing why you want to do it. Seldom do we actually know why. So for example, lots of people don't exercise because they don't value it. So they don't trigger that their own health is critically important. They value things that are on the outside. But once we value what we want for ourselves, mental health, physical health, and social relationships we value. Once we pick a trigger, that's important. We know why we want to do it. We need to intrinsically have the motivation. Moving through fear and failure is a part of learning. It takes time. And what will happen is when we're changing habits, we take some time. And how long does it take? As long as it takes. And then the point being is getting the reward. Like you talk to anybody that did a lot of running, that they were maybe 30 pounds overweight and decided to run a marathon, they weren't jumping up and down the very first day. But when they go through the process and started to see the success and it started to form a habit, once a habit gets formed, and I don't need to go in a whole lot of detail with you, but in the base of your brain is called a basal ganglia. And you have all your habits are formed there. So when you woke up this morning, what shoe did you put on, your left or right? You didn't have to think about it. Your programming starts. Health is about allowing yourself enough time with conscious intention to create habits. So what will be your success factors is the following. You need to be clear what you will do and you want to. That's why I say less is more when you start. Pick one thing for physical health, maybe one thing for mental fitness. Check your social connections and make sure you're happy with your environment. Start with a simple plan, and I'm sure this will be put up so you'll have a framework. Ensure that you have the competencies. It's like just because you listen to me or any of the other videos doesn't mean you're going to get it. And I was talking to Peter about it. We're introducing it to you. It's nothing wrong with you to say, you know what, I want to do some more work and sleep, or I want to watch another video, or I want to do a little bit more reading. Getting the competencies is important so you feel that you know what to do. Same thing as going to a gym, just showing up to the gym without someone teaching you what to do. So It's okay to ask and to learn. Decide what's realistic. My mental fitness plan that I showed you, I have baked into my normal routine. The actual mental fitness, those little things I showed you, probably take me 15 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day, sometimes less, sometimes more, depending on how I'm feeling. But I actually know what's realistic, and it's not a time drain for me. It's actually now a charger for me. If I don't do these things, I actually feel out of sorts. It's like if I don't get on my bike or I don't get to go for my walk, I feel out of sorts. That's when you know you have good habit forming. You know, I know, Peter, you're a runner. If you miss your running, you miss a couple days, you probably feel a little out of sorts, right? Then you know you're starting to develop habits. Decide what micro skills you want to do. Pick one. Don't have to do a lot. What support you need again. I believe in making social contracts. Tell people, hey, I'm going to do this, this, and this. Make it public what you're going to do to help get some accountability out there. And be mindful of your money and your resources. Build a plan that's inside your means. Small change can lead to big change. Inch by inch, life's a cinch. Big coaching, I can tell you after doing this again for a long time. Forget about the outcome. Know what the outcome is, but focus on the process. And focus on the process and do that each day. And the last thing is journal and log and keep a record. Keep a record so those days where you don't feel that you have a whole lot of confidence, you can go celebrate and realize all the great things that you've done. So, we can open up some questions now, Peter.
Perfect. And I have to repeat what you just said. What was it? Inch by inch, life's a cinch.
Inch by inch, life's a cinch.
I won't quickly forget that. So, folks, again, if you have any questions, please click on the icon and let us know what's on your mind. One thing, Bill, in terms of, you've been talking about the idea you said about the social contract. A lot of people I've talked with have heard, as you say, knowledge to do different things, but they haven't done that first move to actually put pen to paper, literally, and then you're talking about it with somebody else. Are there any micro skills that could help a person just get over that first hurdle of actually creating kind of that simple plan that you described?
Yeah,
I was just going to say, and one thing I think that's come up often I hear is that people say the reason they can't do it is because they don't know enough to be able to do it.
So, okay, that's excellent, Peter. So the plan could be to pick one thing they want to do, and their plan could be actually learning how to do it. And so that could be the plan. So for example, if someone says, yeah, I think this meditation stuff might be good, their plan may be to listen to a book and tape of meditation and start to do the activity slowly. The same thing with physical fitness. They pick a plan, like they might pick once they get their physician says they're safe. That's the other thing about physical fitness that's important. Before we start going off and trying to run 5Ks, we should, especially at once you're over 30 years old, you should make sure you get your physical activity checked by your doctor, make sure you're still good, blood pressure. Regular physical health checkups are critical. Then you can begin. But just pick the activity learning, Peter, sometimes could be enough.
Yeah, no, very good. Yeah, because there were questions here about in terms of looking at the idea of procrastination, and I think you've covered that. It says, can you share the mental plan template with people? And yes, we will. And for those who are viewing this from YouTube, we'll find a way to get it to the HR leaders. And so we'll be able to disseminate it that way also. So, do you have any thoughts at this point, Bill, in terms of, I've heard on the radio or on the newspaper today that there was a study that came out by CAMH, and they looked at people's mental fitness or mental health over the month of May, and they were saying that people in the last, they measured a number in the first 2 weeks, and then they measured an equal number the second 2 weeks. It was a very interesting study, but what they found was that people in the second 2 weeks, the more recent ones, were actually starting to have improved mental health. And so they're saying that we're actually becoming more used to living kind of in this pandemic environment. Any thoughts about that and how we can even apply that to what we're talking about here with mental fitness?
Yeah, so really what's happening is a part of it's being biased, really, which you're not controlling for, is it's starting to turn sunny outside. And
Yeah.
people are starting, so the sun and people getting outside, and that this is a time of year where people normally get an emotional lift, which they're starting to have. Well, we have to be careful about this. It's great. We're resilient. However, what's happening is with the return to workplace conversation is happening, and people sometimes can become myopic and start to think we're going to return back to a normal quickly because we want a bias to that. So there's a bit of optimism. I don't want to rain in people's parade. We're not out of the pandemic yet. And if we start any type of spread that goes up like the United States is, if we don't pay attention because it's still out there, what I want to make sure is I don't think Canadians would want to do a reset right now. So it's great we're starting to feel better, but a part of it is two variables. One is weather and return to workplace, which I'm not convinced are enough yet to be able to say. We still had a 50% change and level of concerns increase. But if you reframed it from mental health to a degree of certainty, people are feeling better, but there's still that uncertainty that's still there. And so some people are pushing it away. So my coaching, Peter, would be to continue to work on your mental fitness and focus on building up your reserves in case there's another setback so that you're ready for the unexpected.
No, I think that's excellent advice. One question that's come up here, and this one actually isn't for you, Dr. Howatt, but it's about whether or not our benefits plan covers meditation apps. So we'll be posting answers to this, and we'll get back to you because I can be honest, I don't know if it is covered, but it's certainly the direction people are going. I want to cover a question here around, and it's a pretty specific one, and I think it's an important one that a lot of people will be able to relate to. And it's given the current situation, when you're in the same setting visually for a long period of time, how do you overcome the negative emotions that can come from that? So it's almost a lack of stimulation, it's repetition, where people are experiencing the same spot for 12 weeks now.
Yeah. So one of the things is actually it's a good one is look at redesigning, reshaping, and changing your angles, your feng shui. So reorganize your spot is one thing you can be doing. The other thing you can do is actually start to be aware of colors. Colors have a big impact on us. Light greens and light blues are very good for our neurology, for how we are. Darker colors like reds and blacks, those things can actually do some things to us. So your color. The other thing is your lighting. Is you can add some extra light, change some lighting in your place, move your lights around. Bright light can help some. Getting outside too. The other thing is your vitamin B levels is good too, ensuring that you're getting enough vitamin D. So that's being outside and a supplement in the winter time.
So recognizing that we probably only have time for one more question,
Sure.
Could you, it's come up the idea in terms of, could you say even the top tips on hydration meditation?
Yeah.
Yes.
So mindful hydration, the top tip that I would do is if I'm a male, I'm going to drink up to 3 liters of water a day. Most people go, what? 3 liters of water a day, 2 liters for a female, drink more water, less caffeine. And when you're doing mindful hydration really quickly is when you take a zip of water, you use the water as your trigger for your So when you put the water in your mouth, you're focusing on the water and it goes down your throat. What people don't realize, when I'm focusing on the water, I'm not focusing on cheeseburgers or problems. I'm focusing on it going down my throat and mindfully letting it go down my throat. So I'm doing what we call a 2-for-1. I'm hydrating and I'm mindfulness at the same time. You get the exact same neuroplasticity benefits. And we did a study at Dalhousie and IWK and showed remarkable change in people's bowels. Water is good for your bowels. It's really, really good for your bowels. A lot of people don't realize how their bowels get constricted by so much sugar they put in them and so much caffeine. The other thing it does, it reduces headaches by being well hydrated. It helps us also with our ability, it helps our circulation because we're mostly made of water. But the mindful piece is 90 seconds a day. Start and work 90 seconds a day each minute. Over 10 days, you're up to 10 minutes. That's all you need for the neuroplasticity benefits, and it all doesn't have to be 10 times. So you just drink water through the day and you get a 2-for-1. But you can't do this when you're driving, though. Only when you're safe and stationary.
That's really cool. I think that's an amazing technique, and I'm going to give that one a go.
Well, we'll send you the article, Peter. It's we have an article you can share. It's easy. It's a simple PDF.
Yeah. So folks, this is the end of our time today. And again, I'd like to thank you for your engagement. Look forward to, the future sessions that we're going to have. And Dr. Howatt, just a genuine and sincere thanks to you.
Thank you.
We've loved having you be a part of these sessions for the last few months. I think you are an honorary Maple Leaf person now, and it's just been great. And thank you for your contributions.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Yeah, our pleasure. So folks, again, have a great day, and I wish you all the best. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.